So in this video, we're going to show you the field deployment for the Super Sting electrical resistivity meter. Before you head out into the field, as always, check ahead about the weather and make sure that your batteries are fully charged, or in this case, you could also use a generator, that your generator is gassed up and is working. So this is the basic setup of items that you'd have when you're in the field with the Super Sting. There's the Super Sting itself. This is the center of it all. This is the switch box, which we'll explain more later. The takeout cables and the stainless steel stakes, which together make the electrode set. At least one, probably multiple 1 kilogram mallets, so you can put in the stakes. There's the field computer. And you would either have the generator and power supplies or deep cycle batteries, but we're going to show you both options this time. You wouldn't normally need both. And then other field supplies such as water or salt water, the measuring tape, umbrella, bentonite or foil, other things you use to help get better contact with the soil. Okay, so you determine where you want your survey line. We're going to do ours here, and then you stake in one end and stretch out the measuring tape. Go for it. So then you take the stainless steel stakes and just lay them out at the interval you want. In this case, we're doing 1 meter interval. So when you're hammering in the stake, you want to get it as close as you can to the meter mark that you're interested in, but it is okay to have up to 10% deviation from that if there's like a rock in your way or something. Ideally, if you need to move it, you would move it perpendicular to the line rather than along the line, but as long as it's within this zone, you're okay. Now, another thing that's really important is you shouldn't put it in more than 10% deep of the interval between your stakes. So in this case, we're 1 meter apart, so we don't want this to go more than 1/10 of a meter or 10 centimeters in. So it's easy on a small survey like this to overpound it in. So this is where I'm glad I can move it a little because I'm having trouble getting through because of a rock. There we go. Now I don't want to go any deeper than that. Another thing to mention is, although you want it to be pretty much vertical, it does not have to be perfectly vertical. The electricity will go in fine if it's a little bit to the side. One of the things that's really important is that when you run electricity out through the stake, that it has good contact to the soil so that the electricity goes out from there. So if you're in a really dry condition like we are here and you're not getting good connection to the soil, there's a couple techniques you can use to improve that. You can spray with water around an electrode, or salt water if that's okay. You can put clay in that has that'll definitely increase the connectivity, or you can sort of use a liner of aluminum foil.
You're going to find your takeout cable. They're going to be labeled. This one has 1 through 14 as the electrodes. I'm going to find electrode number 1, the portion of the takeout that's going to connect to it, which will be silver, and I'm going to lay that to each electrode before we connect them. And I'm not going to drag the cable. I'm going to make sure to actually hold it as I'm going. To connect our electrodes to our takeout cable, we're going to do quite a couple steps to do that here. I'm going to take the spring off first from the top and just let that hang. And then I'm going to take the yellow portion of the cable and put that perpendicular to the electrode. And then I'm going to take the spring and reattach it on the top. Now it's going to take some effort, but not too much effort. Oh. There we go. And then from there, I'm going to pull through the cable so that the electrode portion is actually touching against the steel. And then to finish it, I actually have to pull this up and over. And right there, it's locked in place and properly touching the stake.
So again, these cables are really to be treated delicately. We did not pull them at all or drag them as we were doing this. And now that we have them all in, we want to just, this is a 2-meter spacing with 1-meter electrodes. So we want to neatly coil them off to just one side and make sure that the entire party knows not to ever step on them. So if you do have to come through this, you're always stepping carefully over. So these are the connectors that go between the electrodes 1 to 14 and 15 to 28. So when you put these together, you need to take the caps off. And there's a series of sort of notches or keys on here, and so there's one that's wider than the other, so I'm looking at where that is. There's a blue line there next to it, and then carefully twisting and clicking until it's solidly in place. So in a survey that is using more than 28 electrodes, you would put the Super Sting and the switch box and all the power and things like that between the 28th and 29th electrode. And then we have it going on from there. In this case, we only had space for 42, but we could have gone as much as 56.
All right, so next up, we're gonna start connecting our Super Sting R8 to our switch box. The Super Sting is the actual data logger. That's what we're actually recording the electrodes to. And then the switch box is gonna be our junction between all of our electrodes. To connect them to each other, we have a jumper cable that is gendered. We're going to connect one end, ideally the female, first to the Super Sting. It is keyed to line up, so I will feel that and then just twist it until it locks. And then I will do the same on the other end of the switch box. Just find where it keys and then lock it. There is a high address and low address on the switch box that we will be connecting to. So the lower addresses, which are 1 through 28, I'll be connecting to the low address portion of the switch box. So I'll be taking that portion of the connector to the part that's labeled low address and it's also keyed. So I will just find that gently and then twist it to lock in place. For the higher addresses, we need a gender swap on the cable. So I'll take this portion of it that's coming down and use this jumper in order to switch it so that can connect to the switch box. So I'll take those two halves and connect them together. And that allows me to take this portion and connect it to the high channels on the switch box. So I'm just going to find the key, and once I do, I just twist it and lock it in place. Next, we're going to connect up our Wi-Fi antenna to the Super Sting. That way we can talk to it with a tablet. That connects up here in the top right of the Super Sting. So it's just threaded in place with this little antenna. And now that that's on there firm, I can just put it, facing upward. And then we're going to connect the power alligator clips to the Super Sting itself. If we're only hooking up one battery, we'll just be using one set, but we have both sets so that we can run it in boost mode with the extra power from the extra battery. There'll be a barrel connector on one of the alligators, and that's the one that we use to connect at the bottom left of the Super Sting. So I'll just take that off, and there'll be a key, wider one for the top, and I will just put that on and twist, and that is connected. And then you can see that there's this little XLR kind of microphone connection. That is how we connect the other set of alligator clips to it. So I'll unwind that, and that just goes in straight across. There'll be a little button for which way it lines up. So before we hook up the batteries to the Super Sting, now is a good time to go back over general electrical safety. So once again, electricity can be dangerous. Now during the survey, it will randomly be turning on different sets of electrodes, so the whole thing will not be energized at the same time, but the shock chance is still really high while it's operating. So you don't want to have any person or any personnel next to the electrodes while you're running your survey. So just make sure everyone is at a proper space and proper distance away from the survey while it is operating. Only when the system is disconnected from the batteries should anyone actually approach or get directly close or touch any of the electrodes. The other thing we've done is that we put our batteries in plastic bins. That is to prevent a ground loop between the electrodes and the batteries. If you don't have plastic bins to put your batteries in, another option for insulators is like a big piece of plywood or any kind of piece of wood. And from there, I'm just gonna hook up both sets of batteries. So we're gonna take red to positive, black to negative, and then same deal on the other battery, just red to positive, black to negative.
Alternatively, if you don't have deep cycle marine batteries, you can use a gas-powered generator. You want the generator to have a floating ground because you don't want to have any ground loops of electricity, so you would not drive a stake and ground your generator, just have it like that. You would also need to use the 2 AGI power supplies for regular and boost mode. They are already insulated from the ground, so you don't have to put plastic or anything or wood underneath them. So the same power port here, get the key lined up, get it to click into place, get this clicked in, and then you have your connected to the power supplies, and you can start your generator. And once it's started, go ahead and plug them in. So now we've set up all of the instrumental part of it, and the next step is to run a series of tests to make sure everything is ready, and then you would actually run the experiment and collect the data. That can take up to a couple hours and is outlined in the guides that we have.
And to start up the SuperSting, I will simply just hit this toggle switch, and we can see there that we have main power and boost power for the extra, and we have a menu that opened up on the screen for us to start our survey. With a tablet, I'm able to connect to the Wi-Fi of the SuperSting, and that allows me actually to remote control it through a Android app, which allows me to transfer data and remote control the device. If necessary, you could actually just use the numpad on the SuperSting itself to operate it. Now that we've completed our experiment, we're gonna go and shut down our system. I'll just go over here and hit this toggle switch to off. I'm gonna make sure that all the lights are off and then disconnect the power through the barrel connector to ensure that the system is de-energized. At this point, I'm gonna tell the rest of the team that it's actually safe to start disconnecting the electrodes.
It's essential to remove the stakes before you bring the cable out of the field, because the stakes are really easy to not see, especially if there's a lot of vegetation and things. So what you want to do is take the spring off. You need to reattach it over the top. Make sure that people do that. It takes a little bit more work. And then you carry the stakes out with you, leaving all of the bright yellow and easy to see things in the field for now.
And then to take up our takeout cable, I'm not gonna coil it. Instead, I'm gonna do over under, just as if it was rope, and just take it up like so that we can pack it up in our box.
So overall, this field site was quite clean, and most of the electrodes came out without any dirt or anything. But if you're in a field site where things have gotten muddy, or you've had to use bentonite, or especially if you use salt water, you need to rinse and clean and dry all of the electrodes. So you can, if they've caked on, you can get them wetter again. There's scrubbies or sponges or towels, whatever it takes to really scrub off what might be the problem. And then before you put it back in the electrode box, you want to make sure that it's dry and really be certain that it doesn't have any salt or corrosives on it. So this is the last of the SuperSting items getting packed up, and then we're ready to leave the field.